Question 21. With respect to the impact of fiscal policy on aggregate demand, A, monetarists forecast the effects as powerful, B, Keynesians believe that the effect is only temporary, or C, Keynesians forecast a powerful effect subject to the spare capacity in an economy. So we've got three answers here. We've got monetarists for one of them and Keynesians for two of them. So we can rule out monetarists right away. Monetarists would believe that fiscal policy can't have significant impact. So we're saying they forecast the effects as powerful, but they would say that they're not powerful. And they're going to be more focused on things like the money supply or the monetary side of things having an impact on demand, not the fiscal side. So then we're left with Keynesians, and we have the Keynesians believe the effect is only temporary, or they forecast a powerful effect subject to spare capacity in the economy. So we're going to be going with answer C due to that extra nuance. Keynesians believe that it will be permanent, or maybe not permanent, but longer lasting and not temporary if there is spare capacity in the economy. So if the economy is not living up to its potential GDP, then they believe that fiscal policy will have a positive impact on aggregate demand and for longer than just temporary. Answer C. Question 22. Belgium and Germany have a free trade with each other. However, both countries have separate trade barriers on imports from other countries. Belgium and Germany are most likely part of a free trade area, a common market, or C, an economic union. So looking at these three different answers, a free trade area is going to be basically what's talked about here. They have free trade with each other, so Belgium and Germany can trade freely with each other, but then they have different policies with one another. So maybe Germany has a different policy with Switzerland than Belgium has, and kind of so on and so forth. So free trade area sounds like it will probably be our answer here. B, common market. So this is where we're going to have free trade, but also free movement of labor and capital across member countries. And the European Union is an example of this today. So that makes this question a little bit tough because Belgium and Germany are technically part of the European Union. But if we're going based off just what's in the question, which is what I think we want to do here, we're going to rule out common market since we're just looking at trade, not capital and labor movement as well. And then C, we've got economic union. So this is kind of one step up from a common market where they're sharing capital labor, but then also having some set economic policies across the different countries. So again, the European Union is an example of this as well. So we can rule that out, and we're going to go with free trade area. This one was a little tricky because the EU would fall under kind of both of these, and Belgium and Germany are part of the EU. But I think the best way to go about this is just looking at the information in the question. Answer A. Question 23. When a central bank increases the supply of money and credit in an economy, it is referred to as a or an contractionary policy, B, restrictive monetary policy, or C, expansionary monetary policy. So this is going to be C, expansionary monetary policy. If we're increasing the amount of money and credit in the system, that's going to make monetary conditions a lot looser. And when monetary conditions are a lot looser, that's going to lead to more economic activity. And more economic activity is consistent with expansionary monetary policy. We can also look at this from the standpoint of contractionary and restrictive are basically the same answer. So we can kind of rule those out from those standpoints. And these types of policies would be the exact opposite. If we were decreasing money supply, decreasing the amount of credit in the system, that's going to lead to less economic growth. And those would be restrictive or contractionary policies. Answer C. Question 24. If the USD CAD spot rate is 1.5011 and the USD CAD forward rate is 1.4413, then the forward discount is closest to. So to calculate the discount, we're going to be using this simple formula right here. So we'll do forward over spot minus 1. And that's going to be, so we'll just be plugging in these two numbers, 1.4413 divided by 1.5011 and subtract 1 after we get that answer. Gives us minus 0.0398 which is going to align right here with answer A. Question 25. An analyst wishing to assess if the economy is moving out of a recession into the expansion phase is most likely looking for A deceleration in the rate of inflation. We can rule that out. When we're going to be going from out of a recession into expansion phase, that's going to mean more economic activity. And when there's more economic activity and people are buying things, we should expect to see a acceleration in the rate of inflation. We should expect inflation to pick up a little bit. B, an upturn in expenditures for housing and consumer durables. That sounds like it could be our answer right now. That's definitely our best answer. When we're going from recession to expansion phase, people tend to buy more things. There'll be more economic activity. And particularly in these two items, when you're spending on housing and consumer durables, these are typically going to be higher ticket items and things that people will be not buying in a recession, but can be an indicator that we're coming out of a recession and people are starting to buy those things. C, a decline in average consumer expectations for business and economic growth. If we're going into an expansion, we would expect this to be increasing, not declining. So we can rule out C and stick with answer B. Question 26. Company A has developed a new product and acquired a patent for the next 20 years. It faces the following demand and cost schedules. So we've got output, price, and cost. So price is presumably what we can sell it for, and then cost is total. So it's not per unit. This is the total cost. Company A's optimal output level is closest to. So optimal output level in this context is going to just be what gets us the most amount of profit. And we're looking at the optimal output level between 40, 50, and 60 units. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the revenue, which is going to be output times price, and then we're going to subtract out the cost for each of these three different rows. And then the highest amount of profit is essentially going to be our optimal output. So we bring that in. Here's what that looks like. So we're going to do our number of units times price, 40 times 4,300 to get our revenue, and then subtract out that total cost, since this is total cost, not per unit. 160,000. So we get 12,000 for 40 units, 20,000 for 50 units, and then 14,600 for 60 units. So our optimal is going to be where that profit is maximized, which will be B, 50 units. Question 27. The break-even quantity of production under perfect competition is the quantity for which. So just looking at break-even quantity as a definition, the break-even is going to be where we're making zero profit. So under which of these different scenarios would that indicate that we're making zero profit for perfect competition? So we've got A, price equals total revenue. This doesn't really make sense unless we're selling only one unit. We should be selling multiple units. And so the price shouldn't really equal total revenue. This one doesn't really make sense for us. So we're going to cross that off. B, price equals average total cost. So average total cost is going to be the per unit cost averaged across all the units. And then that equaling the price means that we will have a profit of zero. So B sounds like it could be our answer. And then C, total revenue equals marginal revenue. Comparing revenue to revenue, we can't really get a break-even number. We need to have kind of revenue relative to some cost. So we can go ahead and rule out C as well and stick with answer B. Price equals average total cost. Question 28. Supervised learning and unsupervised learning both require at least one. So we've got hidden attribute, output attribute, or input attribute. So for both of these types of learning techniques, they both require one of these. So A, hidden attribute, this is going to be neither supervised nor unsupervised learning require these. It could be something that we want to learn more about it within our technique, but it's not a requirement for both of them, or either really. B, an output attribute. So we can rule this one out as well, since output attribute will only be required under supervised learning. under unsupervised learning, though, we're not looking for any specific output. We're just giving it the data and telling us, here's the data, can you identify any patterns? So we're not looking for any type of output attribute, whereas under supervised learning, we're more so wanting a specific insights on some type of output in that data. C, this is going to be required under both of them, input attribute. They both need to have some type of data or thing that they're looking at to kind of be carried out. So we'll go with C, input attribute. Question 29, if the currency exchange rate between USA and Europe is 1.11 USD Euro, and the rates between the UAE and the USA is 3.3 AED USD, then the current exchange rate of AED per euro is closest to. So this is going to be AED / euro essentially. And so let me pull this in. To get AED in the numerator and euro in the denominator, we'll need to do USD times euro, or USD over euro times AED over USD. So essentially what ends up happening when we multiply these two together is the USDs cancel each other out, and then we end up with AED in the numerator and euro in the denominator like we want. And so let me back this up. We're looking for USD euro, which is given at 1.11, and then we're looking for AED USD, which is given at 3.3. So all we have to do is multiply these two together. 1.11 times 3.3 gives us 3.663, which is going to round closest to answer C, 3.66. Question 30. Currently, the USD pound spot rate is 1.6736, while the 3-month USD pound forward rate is 1.6745. Which of the following is the best interpretation of the forward discount or premium? A, the interest rates in the United States are higher than those in Great Britain. B, the real value of the USD GBP spot rate will appreciate in the next 90 days. Or C, the interest rates in Great Britain are higher than those in the United States. So we've got a 3-month forward rate of 1.6745, and then our spot rate is 1.6736. So this is going to be a depreciation in the dollar and an appreciation in the pound, since it's now going to cost us more USD to purchase 1 pound. So I think the best way to look at this is through the lens of whether this is a forward premium or discount, which we'll calculate first. So it's going to be, to calculate the premium discount, you do the forward rate divided by spot rate minus 1. So it's at a very, very slight premium, 0.0005. And then from here, we're going to look at how that forward rate is going to be imputed based on the interest rates in these countries, since that's important for answer A and C. So are the rates higher do the rates need to be higher in the US to get that forward rate premium, or do the rates need to be higher in Great Britain to get that forward rate premium? So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the spot, so 1.6736, and then we're multiplying that by 1 plus the rate in US divided by 1 plus the rate in Great Britain. And so if our forward rate, let me get my red one back out. So if our forward rate is higher, which it is in this scenario, it's 1.6745, and our spot rate is less, if we're multiplying by this variable as a whole, what that tells us is that this variable needs to be greater than 1. If we're multiplying the spot rate by something to get a higher forward rate, then this has to be greater than 1. And so for this to be greater than 1, we're doing division now. And so our interest rate in the US is going to have to be higher than our interest rate in Great Britain to get this greater than 1. And so what that's going to do is that's going to lead us to answer A, which is the interest rates in the United States are higher than those in Great Britain. And we can immediately rule out C. For answer B, the real value of the spot rate will appreciate in the next 90 days. I think it makes more sense that this would mean that it's depreciating, since we're normally going to be talking about the currency in the numerator in this context. So I think that answer A is our best answer here, and we can kind of prove that by looking at the this formula here on forward rates. Answer A.